cookbook. All right. ELAC debut 6260666. A rather large speaker, wouldn't you say? For $300, which is the price point we're on these. All right. I review quite a lot of speakers, and $300 is just right about the point where people could argue with their spouse and be like, well, honey, we need new speakers for the living room, you bitch. And they might get away with it. And ELAC's got the name. ELAC came from nowhere. There was no ELACs 5 years ago. Were there ELACs? I don't even know. Yell at me in the comments for being ignorant. So Andrew Jones, ELAC, 6-inch front ported. Let's talk about some of the things. Front port's important. Not many speakers I review are front ported. When I get to those Yamos, those are front ported. Those are front ported. The Wavecrest HVL1s are front ported. Home Theater Directs are front ported. Zeus, why does this matter? Because I am honestly in worst case scenario right now. The speaker, panes of glass behind speaker, and like an alcove. That's absolute nightmare fuel for anyone who looks at how to place a speaker. You do not want that. It works in my room, because my room is special, because Chewbacca lives in it. She's coated it with her fur, along with every other part of my body. Fushed. Fushed, baby. Fushed. Up there. But if there's a rear port, then it's throwing sound back, and it's going to hit and reflect out. Front port, two things happen. I always find front-ported speakers have slightly less low-end appearance because it's not using the reflections off the wall. But you could also slide it closer to the wall. You can just, if the wall was here and that was rear-ported, that's as close as you can get. Front-ported, that's fine. Just slam it right against the wall. Chewbacca, you in kill mode? You're a killer. Look at that killer girl up there. 6.5 inch. That's a pretty big driver as well. We're finally able to get a hold of a speaker. Now, I reviewed the old ELAC 5, B5. I never touched the B6, but I've heard them. And I really was like, oh yeah, good, give me that. And it had the low end, and these don't have the same low end that the older speakers do, but more refined. They definitely, I put on not Run the Jewels, although Run the Jewels has really high recording quality. I put on Mina. Review break while I brush the cat with like a toilet scrubber brush. She loves the rough stuff. Hold that. Whereas the original B5s, B6s stood out to me as being like this cheap, hard-hitting, hit you in the face, home theater. They worked for music. You get them, rock them, go home. These have a little more finesse to them. Now, the Unifies exist, which I haven't reviewed in a while, and actually my friend has my set. And they'll probably these and the Unifies at some point will end up in the yard sale on my Patreon, so keep an eye out for that. Those, the Unifies, have the three-way driver. So it's a bass driver, and then this would be a mid-range and a tweeter inside, where here, that's just a soft dome. And it's a very covered with metal soft dome. And I don't quite understand. Hi. Okay. I don't get his design criteria. Andrew Jones did the first Pioneers, the 40s, the Loft, no, Loft, whatever. He covered the tweeters with metal in those original Pioneers, the BS22s and the BS20, was the 21s, and there was a huge impact when you took the metal off, and it would change the way the speaker sounds, either for the better or for the worse. A lot of people complained, but he went back to that same design here. And I think he's figured out how to do it. Like, you can't poke it, and that's great. But if you, most speakers just leave it open because it's just don't cover it. If someone pokes it, then you kill the person who poked it. It's very simple. It's very simple economics. Oh, someone poked your speaker. Oh, did you kill them? Okay, then you're fine. Don't really affect the treble here. I think he's got a much better tune. Got a tune going on that's just, he's worked it out. Wait. There you go. I no longer feel like the metal is gonna like, oh, it's holding back the tweeter or it's doing anything. It sounds perfect. It sounds perfect. The center imaging, because we have to talk about imaging and soundstage and the same thing to talk about headphones. Because when I sit here and use it, I use them in stereo, and there's no center channel. So when I'm watching movies or TV shows or anything like that, the job of a center channel speaker that would be here is taken up by the left and right, because my receiver literally is told there's no center. And it goes, all right, take all that information and just go both. So mono comes out. And I've heard at this width, and I've done many a speaker now, at this width, and that's about 9.5 feet apart, which is a lot to ask a speaker. Depending on how well it can constrain the sound in the center, is center width for me. And there's options to adjust center width, but that's usually when you have 3-inch channels, and then they'll just add some center to the left and right. This is very sharp. This is like, sometimes if I do left and right and I fake the center, this whole area here, that sounds like where the sound is coming from. Yeah, I think someone's around here. These speakers is much more defined in the center, and that's got a lot to do with the tweeter. And I would call it the waveguide, but I mean, I can't really fucking see the waveguide. Andrew, I can't see the fucking waveguide. Let me in. Front ports. So front ports allow you to put the speakers closer to the walls or the windows or whatever's to the windows, to the walls. All these bitches crawl. The only issue I have with these ports is they're very small for a 6.5. And you may not notice this, but I play my shit loud. I got lots of power playing these. They're not hard to drive. Classy stuff here tonight. Good and the bad and the ugly. Oh, hold on. Let's play real loud. Hold on. But anyway, the problem with a small port is when that speaker goes in, all the air in the box tries to leave through a little tiny peepee hole, goes and dissipates like right around here. I had run the jewels on earlier. Queens of the Stone Age, Jurassic Park, Evil Dead. Come on. That's just loud. Wait, I got it. Yeah, I've been standing here and music's been playing and I'm like, what the fuck is hitting me? Is there bugs? And it's the port shooting air with little can't even get 2 fingers in there. So for a 6.5, that's a small port. Go look at my review of the Klipsch RP150M, which is a 5.25, and the slot port on the back is, I could like slide an entire ham sandwich into it. So the port's doing its job. They've tuned for it. It's a little less bassy than I would like, but like I said, we're back to a little more neutral, a little more refinement in the sound. You just need to add subwoofers. Can you live without subwoofers? Sure. I could live without, running water, and I could live without my cat Chewbacca. I'm just kidding. I could never live without you. And you can live with these without a subwoofer. I would highly recommend it. Now, if you're going for a full 5.1, if you're going for just music, I'd recommend the subwoofer. If you're going for a 5.1, you're going to have a subwoofer anyway, so don't worry about it. And in a small enough room, this is a big room with an open space over there, You might like want more low end. Depends on what your taste in music is. It depends on room acoustics. I have 9-foot ceilings here, so a lot of bass gets lost, which is why when I say a speaker sounds really good and got a lot of low end, it's impressive.
What happens if the manager won't give you the diamonds?
When you're dealing with a store like this, they're insured up the ass.
Harvey Keitel is right there in the middle of my screen. Just boom. Volume. We should talk about volume. Not volume of air, not the volume of the volume of sound, because one of the things I will always tell people is just always go for the bigger speaker. If they have a 5 1/4 version of this and for $45 more, the 6.5, get it. Because bigger driver means it's actually easier to make it be louder. If I had a 40-watt amplifier and I put a 4-inch driver there, it has to move that 4-inch driver a hell of a lot to try to make the same volume as a 6.5 that's just doing this. It doesn't step up incrementally. That's why those giant Forte 3s I got from Klipsch that were this tall with a 15-inch on the back and 12-inch on the front, and it was, oh my god, they're so big, they must be impossible to power. No, headphone amp could have powered those. So just doing this. Okay, just do that. If you make it move like that, it's loud. So 6.5, they're automatically going to be louder than a 5 1/4 without pushing so hard. If you have a normal receiver, 100 watts per channel, it should never be a problem. I was watching movies and scaring the shit out of myself, but not damaging them, because they're going in a yard sale on the Patreon at the first of the month. No resonance, no like shitty bass resonance where you're like, ooh, that sounds cheap. I've had speakers where you listen to them and they just sound cheap. And these are above that line. But because I have to become an audio snob at some point, I had guest over here last month. Very, very beautiful, stellar person who needed to listen to Gooey by Glass Animals, and I'm like, you know what, I'm taking you guys off the rack and I'm gonna put something higher end up there. These do not replace $600 speakers. I'm not gonna say, oh, these are worth $700. They're $300 speakers. They're big, they're loud, they image well, they lack a little bit of low end, which is, again, will allow them to actually push louder, because that's usually what fails first. When you have a really bassy speaker and you push louder and louder, eventually it just starts going, I can't make any more bass, Captain. And it fails. So the less bass it has, the louder you can push it for mid-range and treble, which is fine for a home theater because subwoofer. They're right at the, they're great for what they are. I honestly don't think they're that pretty. I don't find, oh God, Chewbacca, I'm sleeping here. I don't find that attractive. If you cover that, if you covered that, like the whole, oh, having a cat is lovely. I love you, baby, but you just everywhere, just everywhere. If you cover that, it's like then they're like oddly tall when you put it in there. They kind of look like pokes. I'm not a huge, some of the pokes look nice. I don't want to insult everyone who owns a poke. The Polk Cherries, the higher end ones, the RTIs, those are really nice looking speakers. But in black, with that, you're not that pretty. You're just not. I mean, they did a really good job getting the tweeter and the woofer as close as possible, which is, I think, one of the reasons I like the way they sound as far as imaging goes. But, and I would put the covers on, but I left the covers in the box because all the covers did was cover that, and it's a full-size cover that says ELAC on it, and it's just black. And there's no more boring speaker to look at than just a black box with a black cover. Now those Yamos over there, these, are also a black box, but they're a slightly tapered box. And when you really look at the cover, that is interesting. It's not just a black fabric. They've gone through the trouble of finding like a burlap weave, and it looks old school, and I really respect them for making this decision in the design. And then when you take it off, I haven't seen screws, exposed screws on like a higher end speaker in a long time. And those have it, and these don't. A lot of new speakers are just going completely hidden. One of the new JBL LSR 305s went with completely hidden screws, although they went with a shiny fascia. So fuck you, JBL 305Ps. Fuck. Why would you do that to me? Why? So, aesthetically, I'm not that pleased with them. In white, I think that would be a really... If you felt like being a boss, take this out, take this out, take this apart, take this box, spray paint it white, put all that shit back, $1 million. $1 million speaker. Also, they're not using magnets to hold the grill on. There's actual plugs, which is another thing that's like, I know we're only at $300, but magnets don't cost that much, boys. The act of drilling the holes and putting a rubber plug in there versus drilling a hole and dropping a magnet in there and just covering... These are feeling like they're outdated by the time I open up the box. But we're not here to talk about just how they look. We're here to talk about how they sound. And we had to look at the back of them actually too, so let's spin it around. Single 5-way binding posts. You can't split the treble up. It says 4 to 8 ohm. It says normal impedance is 6. Don't worry about it. 6 is sort of like the yeah, you'll be fine. Like, it's not 8, but you'll be fine at 6. And it says 120 watt max power handling, which, if that's 6 ohm, then that's running about 2,000 watts at maximum, but it's not real close to it. So I could run these at their limit just fine. Debut 2.0, the DB62BK. Actually, it says BK, which means black. Are there other colors of this? Let's take a look. Because I didn't see them when I was shopping. Because the Patreon bought these. Yeah, ELAC. Okay. Oh, those. I may, since ELAC doesn't come to me, like I don't have a relationship with them, and I'm not even sure how I would contact them. I may throw the $1,249 fucking dollars each. Fuck it. I'm not doing that. Fuck you. That's $2,500. I can't. But those ELACs, which we're not going to talk about, that front driver is a passive radiator and the real driver is internal, and it's like, that's some crazy ass shit. See here. Are there any other colors, or am I just hallucinating? Yeah, the debut B6 is the old school ones, which are $50 less than this, by the way. And I think much prettier. Much prettier. Do come in walnut. And you know what? I think I'm going to link to those also in the description in case, you want to... They're not as refined. I think the problems I have with the slight harshness in the tweeter are fixed in these. Absolutely fixed. But they lack a little bit of that low end. I thought it was going to take break-in. I'm a believer in speaker break-in. I just am. I've gotten speakers and I've put them up in these fucking stands or speaker, and I've listened to them for a day and gone, oh God, these things are not what I wanted. And then I'll start cooking with them playing, and I'll just watch TV, and 2 days later I'll put on a movie and I'll be astonished. Because it's physically moving things that have to just wear in. Because if they move a millimeter more after breaking in, that could make all the difference. Yeah, no, I don't see any other colors. There's a uniform. There's a Debuts 4. Man, my dogs are barking. Chewbacca, my dogs are barking. You get it? It's a dad joke. So yeah, even though these are labeled as BK, it may be like a European market thing where they'll actually sell you with a different color. White. White would make this. White would make it. Don't want to paint them white? Too bad. Buy them in black. I want to see you paint them white. Alright. Let's go back where the bass is best. That's acceptable. I'm not saying that like there's no bass. All Zio says there's no bass. There is bass. But for a 6.5 inch with this sort of power behind it, I would expect more. I'm like, there's bass. But if I pulled my boot carts down, which are the most insane things, or even the Kef Q100s, they bias the bass a little more at all volumes. So these are specifically, I'm gonna call these for home theater.
Run the jewels live in the garden. Taking off shots and we aim for the darkness. Make it get hot for retarded. Kids cook s'mores off the crotch of our targets. Kumbaya, bitch.
I had to let him say kumbaya, bitch. So yeah, $300, 100% worth $300. If you put a subwoofer in line, I could put my subwoofers on. I could hit my button because I have a mini DSP HD controlling everything. For those of you who've never been to this channel, this whole shit, all controlled by a mini DSP HD, which runs to that amplifier for the subs, and then those amplifiers for the speakers. And if I do that, now it'll switch profiles, and now those individual subs will come on, and then all of a sudden, shit ain't all cracked up to me. The hovercraft cool with the air so putrid. It's just that little bit more, and I don't have these subs cranked. They're just adding the flavor, the little and that's what these need. These need a little more low end. They're a solid buy at $300. I'd honestly love to see them in a different finish, preferably white with the black trim and everything. Be great. You could even color code if you really wanted to go nuts and impress me. Strip them. Paint these white, take these rings, make this one blue, make this one red, and really go for like the gold. Go for like the yes, check it out. I'll link to these in the description. I'll link to the sound demo for these in the description. I will link to the other Andrew Jones ELACs, the B6. I'm not going to bother with the B5. If you need the B5, the B5 and B6 are so close in price now, don't bother with the B5, get the B6. I'll also link to the Unifies, even though those are $200 more, so I think they're still $500 a pair, and those are only $5 1/4. And although those have more low end in comparison, these will shit over those in volume because it gets so fucking loud. It's too loud. It's just, hold on. Jack's smirking revenge. Oh, it's breathing now. Don't eat that USB cable. That's from the Fight Club soundtrack, by the way. A movie that Pasta's not seen, and she's like, I should probably watch Fight Club. And I'm like, yes! Oh. Made in Abyss soundtrack. They're good speakers. I'm not going to shit on them. They have a couple quirks. They need more low end. They're kind of ugly. Their build quality is solid. Way better than those. As pretty as those Yamos are, once you get close, it's sort of like, ooh, is that a kit car? Like, is that a Ferrari? And then you get close and it's like, ooh, that's not a Ferrari at all. That's a Fiero. But it looks like a Ferrari from far enough away, and that works for some people. Yeah. Yes. Okay. You pass. Now get in my yard sale. You'll find these in the yard sale from the 1st to the 10th of whatever month you're watching this. If this video came out today or tomorrow or 3 days ago, next month's yard sale will be these, and you could pay me for them. And I cover shipping in the US, and if you want them international, I pay half of the shipping and you pay the other half of the shipping. That's the way the yard sales work. Wallpaper, which is kind of hard to see, and it's a really good one, and I'm gonna fuck up that. I mean, look at just oh, best boy. There's a good wallpaper. You want this wallpaper. Down this wallpaper in the description. Links to those, links to the other ELACs, links to the sound demo of this. Links to a can of white spray paint. Take them apart, spray them white. They'll look fucking fabulous. Fabulous. Yeah, okay, we good? We good? He's got a pass. They're not blowing my socks off. I understand what they fixed. They didn't fuck them up. They didn't fuck them up. A couple tweaks. All right, on to the next one. You're here for the wallpaper, admit it.